notes, you certainly look like you're having a damn good time in there.
Well, I mean, that was the whole idea of it for me, you know, because I do enjoy watching the show. Plus, I've got young kids who love all those sort of programmes, you know, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and all the rest of it. So I always just thought, what will make them laugh? Whereas one or two people in there be saying, well, I'm not dressing up and looking an idiot. And I thought, too late now.
Well, because a lot of people felt that you were robbed of the title, really. That I think, because it was almost like a bookie's sting, wasn't it, that Ulrika winning, because she was a rank outsider up until the last minute.
Well, you've got no idea of stuff like that when you're inside the house. And, you know, I was surprised, well, more surprised than anybody, to be, you know, just in the top 4, top 5. I thought I'd have been going home with Tommy on the Wednesday, so...
I mean, it's a kind of funny thing to ask, but, I mean, do you think you've come out well from it? Has it done you good?
Well, it's just strange. I think the coming second is great, because every time I walk down the road now, it's, hey, Terry, you should have won. And even down here, and it's quite funny, because won what? I thought they should have given us a caravan or something like that, shouldn't they? You know, the winner gets a caravan or gets spot prizes like you used to get in Bullseye. Win a task, and then you come out with a lava lamp under one arm, pushing a hostess trolley with the other.
It's interesting, he can't say it, but he did come out of it incredibly well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched Terry on telly for years, but I didn't... I mean, it's not about being real. I didn't realise there was so much about you. You know, he was incredibly knowledgeable, you know. I mean, I was watching you were talking one night about the history of something, and I actually learned from it, which was a huge surprise. And he came out... He had a totally different persona than his public persona.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And I think that's the great thing about the house.
I think your radio work's been very good for you, because it showed this. I think... Well, let's start with the word. I mean, do you think that was a good thing for you?
Well, that was a strange thing, because, I mean, I basically got the job on the word because Manchester was trendy back in 1989, you know, with, like, the Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays, the Hacienda and everything. And I think someone at Channel 4 said, let's get one of those. And they rang up about 12 journalists in Manchester and said, now, you've got some Northerners in Manchester. Which one would you recommend we audition for this new show? And I think as a bit of a joke, they shoved me in. So I went in there thinking I'd be doing some little show at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and that'd be it. And it just ended up growing legs and went beyond me. I mean, it was really difficult, actually. Even the name of the show came from the page that I used to write in the Manchester Evening News, The Word. And I only suggested it because I thought... The show was on a Friday night. My page appeared in the Evening News on a Friday night. I might get an extra 30 quid off the editor, which I did. And somebody did my listings for me.
Now, Eric, you have a question from our audience on the word, I believe.
I do indeed. Next to me is Nick. So what's your question?
I just wondered, really, whether you thought the word ever went too far.
Well, what happened was, as a show, it was OK, and then we brought in that strand, The Hopefuls, which I was against. Not on any, you know, great moral ground that I don't think someone eating a maggot sandwich isn't a great idea. But to do it every week, it becomes a gimmick, a contrivance, and that shortens your shelf life. Plus, we had a good audience for that show, and doing that kind of stuff didn't actually gain us any more viewers. It was just to get more stuff in the papers, and there was enough stuff in the papers anyway about it.
What about you and Danny? Because Danny Bears said she'd quite like it to come back. It's of its day, or could you imagine...
It'd have to be sponsored by Senatogen, wouldn't it, now?
Could you... It's backwards... I mean, would that be a backwards move to bring something like that?
Well, I mean, again, because it was aimed very much at 15-year-olds. That was the idea of the word. I mean, that's what used to make it strange to me when you get all these hush-puppy types in The Guardian and that, writing, this show's disgraceful. I thought, this show is being made for 14 and 15-year-olds. You know, that's why it is the way it is. It was almost like bringing a Friday night out into your living room when you were too young to go out. So that was quite strange that people would be examining it and saying, well, it's a bit rubbish.
But it was, I suppose, because it was youth TV didn't really exist as such at the time, did it? We'd had the Tube, and that was about as far as it had gone.
Well, this was the first show that was actually made genuinely for 14 and 15-year-olds, the proper youth audience, rather than for, you know, semi-trendy 18 and 19 and 20-year-old students. And, of course, you know, a lot of people didn't like that fact about the word.
And I'm told, because there's been some fantastic questions and ideas the researchers have dug up. One of the things was that you'd actually come up with an idea of a female co-host, a female comedian that you knew that at that point was unknown to the rest of us, who was...
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, they couldn't find a female to co-host the show with me, so they auditioned loads of different people. And I kept saying, there's this girl in Manchester I've worked with, and she's brilliant. you know, and they would say, oh, we can't have 2 Mancunians on the same show. Weird.
The weather
might
will
start
going
breeding.
grey.
And they kept turning it down all the time, and that was Carolina Hearn. Did all right, didn't she, in the end?
Yeah, in the end. And one of the most fascinating bits about having you on with Carol today is actually hearing the two of you talk about Big Brother and what we see and what you go through. Because, Carol, you were saying that what we see and what goes on are two very, very different things.
Completely. I mean, when I was in there for the Big Brother race row one, and the bit in, and Jade and the other young girls with her, Joe and thingy, they were edited very, very badly, I thought, because what you didn't see in the house was what people like Shilpa were doing and the lead up to all of those rows. And it was very disingenuous, I thought, of the Channel 4 people not to put out the full story. And I know things have to be edited, but as everyone, you know, in television knows, things can be edited well, or they can be edited very badly. They can be edited to make people look fabulous, or they can be edited to make them look terrible. And I think that's what happened in my case.
Or stupid.
Yeah, you've been very lucky. You've been edited well, darling.
Thank you, darling. Me and Terry go back, and it just reminded me that we'd done a show with Mike Smith about 20 years ago.
We must have been good, though, because now we're back together again.
Yeah. You always said we should meet up again after it. And,
what was the show?
I don't know. It was some quiz thing.
That's show business.
See, that's how well he remembers it, because he even knows, this is an inside, Terry, that we lost. I can't remember that. I can only remember
That's
the
because he's clever.
But no, 20 years ago, what are you talking about? I've got an ick, an IQ, yeah.
Well, we could have won the caravan. That was
We
it.
could have, yeah. But did you enjoy being the king? Did you enjoy bossing people about in that
Well,
house?
no, but, I mean, the point was they made me head of the house, and then I just thought, yeah, great. And then they wanted me to nominate people, so I just said, well, start making it worth my while, you know. So I used to get beer in the day. You know, pints of stout. Is that the correct phraseology?
Might well be, yeah.
Without any brand names. And so what they did was, on one day, they said, right, you've got to really push the envelope today. And I did enjoy it. It was quite funny. So I had Tommy singing that line out of God Save the Queen, rebellious Scots to crush, and, you know, just bits and bobs like that.
Do you remember how great it was? We used to beg for alcohol because it's so boring in there. And you know, the only thing...
No, you're just alcoholic.
But we used to say, please, can we have it? And when it came, it was just fantastic, you know. I don't think I've ever been excited about anything.
I mean, Vern, that whole... could he put it away? Terry? I mean, could he...
Well, no, because he was so small, and that particular night, he'd only had he'd had 3 champagnes, which was one more than most of us.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, yeah. And I picked him up after he crashed into there, because he went down, but what you have to do is you have to let him hold your hands. But he was a great bloke, Vern, and dead funny, because it was like the old in vino veritas, you know, in alcohol the truth.
I love it. You do your Latin with the pronunciation I learned at school as well. Yeah.
Catholic schools, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Was Vern always talking about sex in the house? Because he was edited in that way.
No,
so
he'd do it as a laugh to make us laugh.
OK.
You know, and he'd go round and say, leave a little space in your bed for me later. I'll be round. You know, it was just funny. He was a brilliant bloke.
Have you watched the highlights? You know, those...
I haven't, no. The only things I've watched the highlights of was United-Chelsea, United-Southampton, United Derby County.
OK, well, what about... Because, I mean, Ulrika copped... I mean, I think she was getting a fairly hostile run from the press. You nominated her quite early, and then she goes on to win, which... was that a surprise?
Well, not really, because, again, nobody knows what's going on the outside. And inside, I mean, Ulrika would be OK. It's just, you know, as I said, I just felt she was being a bit stuck up at times. You know, but I have to say, you know, once I'd sort of said that to her, she was a lot better. And certainly the last week, once she knew there was no escape, she really relaxed and was a bit more fun, you know.
I think she was hoping to get... The rumours were she got 175 grand. I think she was hoping to get the money and be out in week 1 and carry on with her normal life again, wasn't she?
Isn't that strange?
Isn't that...
I mean, she did have a 7-month-old baby at home, all her other kids there.
Yeah.
You know, and it must be really hard if you're a mother.
But has it been good for you in the sense that now people have, and TV people have seen a different side to you?
Well,
and
I've not got 2 heads.
No, but do you think you'll be offered different kinds of work now than you were before?
I don't know. I mean, it is strange because everyone always says that. I mean, obviously, you know, when you go on something like Celebrity Big Brother, oh, you're going on to get work. Well, if you were, I'd have been sitting in the ashtray with, you know, what is it? You know, looking for work, no job too small. You know, please don't ask for references on a sign hung around my neck.
But do you think you'll get a different kind of work now?
I've got no idea.
Because
I've
you were
always done
stereotyped in a
okay-ish.
way, weren't you?
He's here. That's the start.
I mean, again, it's like, you know, people... What you used to get, what I did get in the past was sometimes people would think they knew me when they didn't.
Yes.
So their idea or their perception of me wouldn't be coloured by the fact they'd met me.
Yes.
It would be by something they'd seen on TV.
course,
Or also when you did a show like The Word, because it was so you'd go to LA and all the rest of it, a lot of people in the business who were kind of, you know, my age at that time, they were like jealous of you.
Yes.
But nobody's going to admit that they dislike you because they're jealous. So they look for other reasons.
Yes.
So they say, oh, you know, he's always going on about this. So, they, you know, they'd pick a different reason so that they did, you know, because they don't want to admit that they're so shallow.
OK, well, I better tell you guys at home what we're doing on the show today, and you might want to get a pen, write them down, Terry, and you can rip them off for your radio show like you normally do.
Don't tell everybody.